facilitator left the district.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Do we need to vote on this? No. Okay.
it's really for your information. Thank you. so much.
We'll be back
Great,
away.
Kristen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kristen. Okay, and the last thing in my section is just, this is the first in a series of briefings that you'll receive regarding staffing and what positions are open. These positions that are listed on this table here, you're going to notice that there are some of those positions are current positions that either somebody is retired from, or for whatever other reason is not going to be here next year. There are also positions listed in here that are directly lined up with those positions that were in the override. So for example, reading specialist, you see that part-time at both Pearlie and Pembroke. That is a position that was added in the override to help us identify the need for specially designed instruction and really looking at assessment and trying to make sure that we can help those students who are struggling. The math specialist is another example, okay? So if you have any questions on any of these, we're at this point, we've posted them internally. If you go to the schools, you see, postings on the bulletin board. And we have put them up on schoolspring.com, which is the source we generally use. We used to use the Boston Globe, and for certain positions, we still might do that at some point. But generally speaking, we find that many educational professionals go to SchoolSpring, and that's been a system it's easy. It tracks it with us. It's easily accessible to people that are going to be doing the interviews. There's a lot of benefits to it, and we've found that that's been a successful strategy in the last year anyway. Moving to some of the electronic database. So are there any questions about any of the positions that are listed here? You'll notice the social emotional programs. That's sort of the last program that we need to put in place as part of our special education restructuring. And other than that, the programs that we have in operation will still continue and we'll continue to strengthen them. But these are positions that at the middle school and at Pembroke that are going to be a new feature next year, a redesign.
What about bringing back the foods?
Oh, what about the foods?
What's that on?
As part of the teacher's contract, there's a recall provision. When you lay someone off, they have a recall provision for a certain amount of time. And so we are obligated, if we're restoring a program, so when we restored the foods program, we're obligated to send the message to, a letter to Sherry Fulton, who was the existing foods teacher, asking her if she was interested in coming back, and she acknowledged that she is interested in coming back. So
really?
that's why it's not posted here,
great.
because she's actually coming back.
That's fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah. So the .5 custodian at Pearlie was another gentleman that we sent a letter to, and he declined. Unfortunately, we love Mr. McGee, but he took a job after we laid him off, and he's loyal to that job, which is Mr. McGee.
Yes, it is Mr.
I would
McGee.
expect that. I would have been surprised if he came
Right.
back, although he's did a phenomenal job. And I think the last one was we sent a letter to Larry Urbanski, the industrial technology teacher, because remember we laid him off at a certain percentage of his time, and when we restored that in the override,
Right.
we sent him a letter saying, we're restoring you to 1.0 in industrial technology now, which means he will not be teaching history. He was teaching a few
And
sections
he
of
indicated
history.
he was interested.
And he acknowledged in writing that he's interested.
Looks great.
Okay?
That's good.
Thank you.
That's great news.
All right.
Okay, next, school reports. For the revised.
Revised
Pearlie
report card.
Yay!
And Margaret's gonna come.
Margaret's
gonna come up.
And Kate Donlin, our literacy coach at Pearlie School, has
come on up,
decided
Here we go. That's
to
good.
welcome that she's joining us. I promised her I would not make her speak, but she's played such a key role in this initiative that I wanted her to be publicly acknowledged and thanked for her efforts. I will say I took
Now
a
you're
little
on television,
peek.
Kate.
Yeah. She got her hair did. I have to say I looked at this after and realized that sometimes when different computers print things out, they print them out in a weird juxtaposition. So the way that it will originally be laid out, you can see, the math tab. Yeah, please. It'll be perfectly aligned and laid out, and I'll send you the PDF file so you can see how the layout is. But What an extensive process. It's been about 2 years in the making. Last year we started, we did 7 drafts last year on the draft mass frameworks, the updated mass frameworks. And then they decided in June, as you know, to let those go and adopt these new national standards. So we had to put ourselves on hold, but that work was for naught because we were able to maintain the existing layout from that work, in which you'll see a much bigger section for narrative comments from the teachers. And we were able to maintain the indicators of proficiency, the proficiency scale, and the indicators for the social and personal competencies. So in the layout, it remained the same. So really, it was a matter of revising with these new standards. We literally cut and paste, because it's a standards-based report card, from the new mass frameworks, which were adopted in December. And I just got my hands on a brand new copy, the properly copyrighted version, which we should all get in June in the districts, they're saying, knocking on wood. But what we noticed when we just cut and paste into there was it wasn't always parent friendly. And the purpose of a report card is to report to our parents. So what we wanted to do was make sure we stayed true to the standards, but we're thoughtful of our audience. So it was a long process. It entailed meeting with the school council from the Pearly School, and we handed them our report card indicators and the parents on that, marked them all up, gave us a lot of great feedback, said, I have no idea what that means or why is that there, and that was a really nice indication of some parental feedback. We also brought it to our grade level teams. We have 2 teachers who are on our committee. Jessica DiTolo and Megan Shelton are our grade level reps, along with our team that's sitting before you. So we worked through the grade level teams, and then after we thought we were okay, we went back and revised it all over again to make sure it was perfect. We brought in Jennifer Quinn, who is our everyday math consultant, and she really knows the program, and she really knows the year-end goals, and she stayed very true to the Common Core standards, but made sure that the language was parent-friendly. She's also a parent consultant as well. And then Kate worked, so much with us, not only in our committee, but also went back to the grade level teams and made sure that the teachers were comfortable. So we vetted it about 1,000 times through. And we feel really excited about this. It's, in our minds, very clear. It's perfectly aligned with these new standards. It's a lot of great information for our parents. And this is the product. But there will be some more, there will be more bridge documents coming out in the fall. We will have a parent handbook and a staff handbook in which each of these indicators are described, as well as term expectations. These are end of year expectations. So what would that look like for a kid in term 1, 2, and 3? And that provides clarity and cohesion amongst our staff and for parents. We will have a few opportunities to share this with the parents. The first is with your approval. We have a June 1st parent evening at the Pearly School this June, and we would like to share this with them and let them see it and introduce it to them. And then in the fall, during open houses, it will be introduced, in any other evenings, it will be introduced to them. They won't get this as a report card itself until December. So this is, we feel, a nice segue, transition, and introduction to them, so they know when they get this, their first term report card, that they'll feel comfortable with it. That's all I have to say. I said a lot.
It looks fantastic.
When are you going to do Pembroke?
Yeah, we have a plan. And what we did was, I sat down and I met with about 20-something curriculum directors and assistant superintendents in our area, and I said, who's doing it, and how did you do it, and what worked, and what did not work. And what did not work was those districts that did it across the district all at once. It was first of all too much, and you can't delve into and define the mechanisms of bridge documents and understanding in your teachers if you're doing it across the district. And it was hard for the parents that didn't grow with the report card to kind of understand the essence. Because the Pembroke report card already had an addendum that was skill specific, they felt that at least they were giving parents good skill-based information. So this will grow. We expect this to grow about, two grades per year or so. So the expectation is grades 2 and 3 next year, and then 4 and 5. So it
So
grows.
see, that would be something that would be embedded in the strategic plan.
Right.
And I mean, this is less of a stretch for parents because it already was sort of a developmental kind of report card. But Pembroke's isn't really a developmental type of report card, so.
Terrible.
So there's grades and, this gives us an opportunity to really look at how this works, and then as we begin to develop it, we can start to introduce.
Well, a couple
new-
years ago when we started talking about this, I brought in the ones from Natick, from my
Yeah.
nephews. And they look a lot like this.
Yeah.
I
And
have
they're-
that still.
Do you still
I
have
kept
it?
I kept
have it
samples
too.
from all over. Yes, and that was one of them on top. Yes.
Yeah.
This is great.
What's the difference? Can you help me understand the difference between foundational reading skills and reading?
Yes, these are subcategories of the new Common Core standards. And what you'll notice if you were to look at the standards across grades, these new standards go pre-K all the way through grade 12. Foundational standards end around grade 2, is it? The early primary. And those are just those early reading skills that once it's kind of what they said they are, that phonemic awareness, those kinds of rhyming kinds of skills. Once that's set in place, those go away across the state standards. So those subheadings are the ones you'll see in the standards. That's how they define those. And the same with mathematics. You'll notice in mathematics, it used to be the same strands for all grade levels. They've changed that, and they've really narrowed our focus in our grade expectations, so there's a lot more clarity for us. So you'll see different subcategories. So under math, you'll see counting and cardinality for kindergarten, and you won't see that for grade 1 because that's only a pre-KK strand. Yeah. So they really were thinking developmentally about the needs of the kids, and at that early level, they need those pre-reading, those early reading skills, and that's what that's referencing.
I know there's so much information out there, it's easy to get overloaded. Would it help parents to have a definition of what those?
They will
Yes,
in
They
this
will,
parent
those
guide.
bridge.
Yeah, so what the handbook does is for each one of those, it provides kind of bullet indicators of what that looks like, and it's very clear. And we're not making that up. Thankfully, the standards do that for us, and they really break it apart. So for each one of those, you'll see exactly what that looks like and means for the kids.
You would end up with a 10-page report card if you put the sub-skills
Oh, I'm sure.
underneath each one. I mean, I've seen
So
some
they'll get a
standards-based
guide
report
to
cards
how
that
to
are 5
read your
pages
report
long.
card.
They will get a parent handbook, and again, this is what we learned from those districts that did it right, that it was embraced by the community, it was welcomed, was they created a comprehensive one, and I have samples of those too, and looking at which ones are not too much information, just enough. They will be lengthy, but we do need that level of detail so we can make sure that there's clarity on their part. And so we'll maybe have a glossary for some of the jargon. I'm expecting to do something like that. So when we say genre, what does that mean? Different types of books and in readings.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you all so
Thank you
much.
very much.
So we need to vote.
We need to vote on this.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve the kindergarten and grade 1 report cards as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all
Thank you,
very
ladies.
much.
Thank
Good
you.
luck next
Thank
week.
For your hard
Incredible
work.
amount of work.
Now the fun begins.
Great work.
Okay, next, the Pearly Pembroke handbook.
Oh, I guess you're back again,
Oh,
Margaret.
Margaret, you're back,
Margaret.
and Donna.
Ridiculous thing we've got up there now.
Margaret?
Margaret.
Oh, she's coming, I think.
getting
She's
her
getting her
stuff.
stuff. She's getting her stuff. All right.
Okay.
So, Margaret, so you put together a summary of the
Right.
changes.
I did. I went through the document and updated some of the material. I did, with Dr. Tanner, we talked about adding some components throughout the year. Again, my first year, so as I was living it, I would make notes about, I'd go to look up something, and if it weren't there, I'd make a note that when the time came to revise, I would stick it in. So there are a couple of new things in the handbook, and not too much new, and some of it was just updating, like the price of lunch is updated. The fees for the extended day have been updated. And again, just trying to clarify and make it user-friendly for parents.
Are there any of these things that you think, like, for example,
I have a question.
page 15?
That's my big question.
Okay, so birthday celebration